Today I effed up by texting my date that I might end up marrying him seconds after we ended our date, plus 4-year update. This just happened to me, literally 10 minutes ago. I'm dying. I'm dead. In me now, oh holy ghost. I thought this only happened in some poorly written rom-coms, the kind where life hardly imitates the real one. I want to bury myself and never come to see the light again. Why me? Oh, why me? 10 painfully long minutes ago, I, exalted by the wonderful date I went with this handsomely gorgeous man who also happened to be a friend of mine for the last 3 years, against my apartment door that I had just closed on his beautiful face, I typed these words that will fiercely haunt me now. Female dog. I think I'm gonna end up marrying this guy. This was meant for my best friend, the only other soul I could muster to express my vulnerable feelings. I sent this deeply poetic text to him instead. Do you think there's a void big enough in this planet to hold all of my misery, all the embarrassment? Do you think I can make a pact with the devil to turn back time? I would just need 10 minutes. That'd be really nice. Can I please die now? Literal and metaphorical death is the only grief I might know. I'm currently in my library, sprawled across the floor, intently staring at the ceiling. Man, I think I'll be here forever. Female dog, I owe you an update. Good news. There's so much staring at the ceiling one can do before pure boredom kicks in, and the realization that the desire to scream F, F, F at the top of your lungs will most likely not last for an eternity. Bad news. You guys did me dirty by blasting my still fresh embarrassment on the front page and apparently on a famous Portuguese radio show this morning. Cool. So, on to the meaty love update. Once I realized the text blunder, I quickly texted him that it was not meant for him, with a crying emoji for good measure. Sweet, sweet man that he is, he responded immediately to let me know that he, quote, doesn't read texts not meant for him. I subsequently asked for permission to die. He said. Please don't. This morning, he texted me about some travel plans we have down the line. Bless this handsome man. The gods are cruel, but not that cruel. This is where I should clarify that the original post was obviously a tad hyperbolic, just like that text. Go figure. I slept well last night, and I also laughed. At myself, the blunder, just the ridiculous timing. What also got imprinted on me was that exact moment I wrote and sent that text. The moment he leaned and kissed me goodnight. I, looking at him as I closed my apartment door, locking it, and at once turning around and heavily sighing and smiling, keys still in hand. 2 weeks ago, he had proposed going on a walk at the park. I had an inkling somehow that after knowing each other for 3 years, he was going to finally, perhaps, become vulnerable and share a few things. I had been in a serious relationship when we met, and what I know now to be out of respect and my ironclad boundaries, he never made any advances. But I was single now, and at the park, sitting there together, he looked at me and said he had feelings for me. Long time, 3-year-long feelings. And right there at Prospect Park, on a clear night, under some 35 visible stars, we counted, he kissed me. Last night, it was my turn to be vulnerable, even if accidentally. For once, I think I understand Ted. He was always the guy I wanted to throw my shoe at whenever his ridiculous face showed up on the screen, which was a lot. As for the library, I'm not Jane Austen, but I'm a New Yorker, and the luxury of ample space is not something I recognize. My dream as a child refugee growing up in deep poverty was to have a dedicated place for all the books I could buy when I would grow up and have money. Here's a pic of my library nook that I built through vintage thrifting, DIY projects, and patience. The library. This is it, folks. The update? I might prefer this life over any rom-com. Now let's read relevant comments here. The pic of the library is gone, but OP explains it in a comment. You guys, it's not a literal library. It's a corner of my apartment I've turned into a library nook. Also, for what it's worth, this is an embarrassing story that just literally happened to me. But believe me, as a refugee who has suffered through deep poverty from early childhood, I'm well aware of all the hardships existing out there. Now, let me go back to staring at the ceiling. User 1 says, you just ruined my mental picture of you in a dramatic swoon across a plush tapestry on the floor of a dusty Victorian library, cheeks flushed and with the back of your hand across your forehead, muttering things like, woe is me and verily I am vexed. User 2 says, make it into a joke. Bring up that it's what they say in those rom-coms and honestly just make it a laughable experience for both. Example, female dog, I think I'm gonna end up marrying this guy, says every girl on a rom-com. Make it into a quote. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm the type of person to turn my F up into a joke. OP replies, I'm probably going to greet him with a chirpy, hi husband, next time I see him. User 3 says, you can only refer to him as female dog from here on out. Then we got an update post 4 years later. Female dog, we got married. 3 years after I mistakenly pressed send, texting this gorgeous specimen of a guy I would marry him seconds after ending our first date, keys still in hand as I struggled to both text and lock the door, and subsequently sprawled across my library wishing for the floor to engulf me, I did end up marrying the man. Damn. What in the world, life? Thought I'd let you guys know since you did help me with your funny comments and shared shameful moments to eventually get myself up that fateful evening, dust myself off, and not commit cringe seppuku. It's been 3 years of pure joy, and he's still as dreamy and kind, you guys. And it was, kids, that's how I met your father, after all. See you in the next chapter. Not a whole lot to say here. Beautiful story. Glad that it has a happy ending. I do agree with the comments about just kind of turning the error into a joke, kind of owning it, being like, you know what? Yeah, I mean, I meant it. What are you gonna do? Marry me. So, yeah, that was a good story. Not a whole lot else to say. Let's go ahead and move right along. Story 2. I, 30M, think my fiance's, 27F, cousin's, 34F, child is mine. My fiance, Sarah, and I have been together for 3 years. She's actually my first serious girlfriend since middle school. I will honestly admit I've been a complete piece of crap with women for most of my teens and 20s, and pretty much used women. I'm saying all this to explain how promiscuous I was in the past. Sarah knows about my past and she's grown to accept it. We met at work and she hated me because she saw right through me, and after pursuing her for close to a year, she finally agreed to a date, and the rest is history. We've been living together for 2 years now, and I've grown incredibly close to her parents too, and she also loves my family. Past 3 years have been the best of my life, and I'm so excited to spend the rest of my life with her. This weekend, her cousin and her family are in town. She's really close with her cousin Lauren. Miracle I haven't met her yet. I was always busy for one reason or another the few times she's visited in the last 3 years. So I finally met Lauren and her husband for dinner at Sarah's parents' place. She immediately stares at me a bit wide-eyed, and I can't help but think she looks familiar. We're all being introduced to each other, and Lauren, for the most part, seems to be acting normally, but she's still staring at me whenever she can. Sarah's parents then come in with Lauren's little boy, who's 5 years old. I'm looking at this kid and Lauren, and the only thing I can think of is that this boy looks like a carbon copy of me at his age with some Lauren mixed in. I'm suddenly starting to remember that I took Lauren home from a bar close to 6 years ago, and I also remember convincing her to not use protection after I showed her my blood work. I'm just a sweaty, nervous mess for the rest of dinner, and I think Lauren realizes from how she looked at me and the boy that maybe I realized too. And an even more effed up part, I think Lauren was visiting Sarah the weekend I took her home. They probably had a girls' night out that weekend with their friends, and I took Lauren home. So Sarah was probably at the same bar that night. Sarah asked me if I was okay, and I just told her I wasn't feeling well. I didn't go to work yesterday, and today I just took sick days. IDK, what the F to do? Lauren obviously isn't saying anything. I have no clue if she was married at the time, and I don't want to ask Sarah because I don't want her getting suspicious about me asking. I don't even know how I feel about possibly being a father. I'm 95% sure this kid is mine. Looked nothing like the husband. Do I just shut up? I never cheated on Sarah, obviously, but she knows how much of a player I was, and it took her a while to get past my number. I don't know how she'd react if she knows I knocked up her cousin years before knowing her. This is vain and superficial about Sarah, and I love her to death, but she absolutely hates if something is considered trashy or low class. I honestly think it's possible she'd leave me if I knocked up her cousin. I can't lose her. She's literally the best thing that's ever happened to me. Now let's check out some relevant comments from the OP. OP says, my only goal is keeping Sarah. Honestly, in my state of mind the last few days, I don't care about anything else. My ideal situation is Sarah doesn't leave me. That's all that matters, and I'll do anything to make sure she stays. I don't know how I feel about the kid. He seemed happy with his parents. They live several states away. Sarah wants kids in the future, maybe 3 to 4 years. Search Sarah's calendar for the kid's birthday, and the timing works out. F. Now let's read a relevant comment here. User 1 says, I'm guessing a lot of commenters on this are men. I'm a 52-year-old woman. The number one most important thing in a relationship for me, and for all the women I know, is trust. Honesty, trust, and having each other's backs. This is why women sometimes can't forgive cheating. It's not the sex, it's the breach of trust. If you were my boyfriend/husband, I would want you to put me first before Lauren, meaning literally come to me first. Like, I have to tell you something that's really stressing me out. You know how I told you I had a lot of irresponsible drunken sex a few years ago? When I met Lauren the other night, she looked really familiar. I'm so ashamed to tell you this, but I'm pretty sure I hooked up with her in month of year. I'm not sure if she recognized me, but I think she might have. I felt like she was looking at me strangely. I was so stressed about it, I lied to you and said I felt sick. Well, that wasn't really a lie, because I wanted to puke, and I'm still completely sick about this. I can't bear to lose you, but I can't lie to you and not tell you about this. Please, help me figure this out. What should I do? Then, let her go through all the stages of figuring this out with you. Let her say, "OMG, is that your kid?" while you put your face in your hands and moan. If you do what all these guys are suggesting and try to do damage control and go talk to Lauren behind your girlfriend's back, you are completely effed. It's not the crime, it's the cover-up. If you talk to Lauren, figure out you're the bio father, and then drop the whole story on your girlfriend, there is no way in hell she will ever believe that you just figured this out now. She will feel doubtful about what you knew when you knew it, how you feel about Lauren, when you last slept with Lauren, etc., etc. If you want a life with Sarah, go to Sarah and ask for her help. If she dumps you, she's only dumping you for something you already told her about, your past behavior, and if she got over it once, she might even get over it again. Right now, you're in the most forgivable, least guilty position possible. You've never lied to Sarah about your past, and you aren't going to start now. You did not turn your back on your child, or the mother of your child. You did not know. If this kid was your baby, you weren't informed at the time. If Sarah and Lauren are close, and Lauren did have a pregnancy and conceal it from the bio father, Sarah may know all about it and may be aware the bio father wasn't notified. Oscar Wilde once said, "Ignorance is like a delicate flower. Touch it and the bloom is off." Women are insanely perceptive to micro-expressions on their partner's face. If you find out anything and hide it from her for 24 hours while you think about it, she will already feel in her bones you are lying and don't trust her. She is probably still wondering WTF was going on with you at the party. If you do anything else besides go to Sarah first, you are most likely done for. Trust that your partner can love you enough to get through this with you. Tell her ASAP before Lauren comes forward and says something. If by any chance Lauren is passing your bio kid off as her husband's bio kid, she may try taking some defensive actions. Who knows what? Or maybe Lauren will tell your girlfriend it's you, and that's why you acted sick at the party. OMG, don't roll the dice. Go to her now. Throw yourself on her mercy and ask for her help. Like others have said, if you and this kid share some DNA, the chance of him figuring this out in your lifetime is extremely high. Rip the band-aid off and deal with it now. Now let's check out the update post. After 3 days of staying at home and feeling sick to my stomach with nervousness about this, I finally told Sarah late last night after my last post. Thank you so much to You Own Crew 3394, because that post gave me the push to spill my guts. As embarrassing as it is, I cried from beginning to end, telling Sarah and pretty much told her I don't want to live without her. She held my hands in bed and patiently listened about how I recognized Lauren, remembered our night, and how seeing that kid mentally broke me because I saw my future with Lauren jeopardized as soon as I saw him. She told me she's upset I didn't tell her as soon as we left her parents' place and to never keep something like this from her again, but she understood I was scared. She said she's not leaving me because I never betrayed her in the past 3 years we've been together, and we'll figure this out too. And she said she'll reach out to Lauren herself and figure out what's going on, because she's been with her husband for 10 years now, and if she's my one-night stand from years ago, she definitely cheated. We then had an even more uncomfortable talk about the type of things I've done in my past and wanted to know if there's any more surprises she needs to be ready for. She said she knows I was promiscuous and a bit of a reckless idiot, but we kind of swept everything under the rug when we got together because we both agreed we wanted a fresh start. And after this fiasco, that might have been a bad idea. So she wants to know everything in detail now, but we can have that talk another time. I don't feel great about this, but I'll deal with this hurdle when it comes up. Sarah has been home with me trying to get in touch with Lauren since morning and has been getting completely stonewalled. Finally, Lauren texted her to please just let it go. Sarah asked her again if they could have a quick chat or even if text is okay, but Lauren insisted to just let it go, please. I'm guessing Lauren realized I told Sarah everything. We don't know how to proceed from here on out. We're deciding to just respect her wishes and not pursue this further. Lauren also just changed her response to our wedding invite to a no-show. Sarah's kind of upset by this, but honestly, I'm fine with this outcome. We always plan to leave the US in a few years anyway. I got a lot of messages asking me to just shut up, and I was honestly ready to go that route, but I think the worry was actually physically making me sick. Anyway, thanks everyone for the advice. Much appreciated. Let's read relevant comments here. One commenter says, "Now you're thinking about this correctly. What is best for everyone involved? You have competing moral imperatives here. The right of the father to know the truth and the well-being of the child, not in the sense you are responsible for the kid, but in the sense that you know your choice will affect the kid. I do not know what is right to do here, but you are not wrong to think that the kid having a better life if you never say anything is a relevant consideration. Does it outweigh the husband's right to know? Not sure, but ignore everyone telling you this is such an obvious decision, because the father's right to know is clearly the only relevant factor. And he is that kid's father, although he would also have the right to stop being so if he found out the truth. The best case scenario for the kid is that no one else ever finds out. Trying to achieve that best case scenario is a reasonable option." And OP replies, "Thank you for your post. This is how we're trying to look at it too. Terrible situation, but trying to make our decision with the kid's best interest in mind." Commenter says, "You will drop a nuclear bomb and literally life-defining moment on this kid if you ever bring this up to the husband. Don't listen to any of these posts telling you to do this. It's beyond selfish and moronic. In fact, it will cause a complete family implosion, an extended family implosion too. Sarah's parents will never look at you the same. Last thing you need to do is expose all of this over a hunch you think the child is yours. Reddit seems really interested in you blowing up multiple families and a kid's life over a hunch. I'm going to break it to you. You don't know that you're the father. You're just thinking you might be. In reality, you don't know that yet. This is 100% on Lauren. You did your part. Sarah knows. There's no secrets between you, and she can use this information how she sees fit. Lauren's relationship with her child is her business. Maybe she feels she needs to find out. Maybe she doesn't. It's not your role to interject. You are not this kid's dad. You don't even know him. Reddit is giving you horrendous advice. Don't take it. Can you imagine if you brought this up to her husband? He leaves because he thinks you're telling the truth? Kid is shattered because his dad isn't in his life anymore? Not to mention Sarah's family hates you for this, only for it to come out later that you are not the father? OP, you did the right thing telling Sarah. Lauren wants to bury the hatchet, and if Sarah wants to do this as well, then let it be. Do not confront anyone over this. You don't have all the facts, even though you think you do. All you know right now is that Lauren cheated on her husband with you roughly 6 years ago. What you don't know is if that child is yours. Don't assume that you do. OP replies, "This is how Sarah and I are seeing the situation too." Now let's read some more comments from OP. Comment 1 says, "And honestly, maybe it's possible Lauren's husband knows she strayed and they moved past it and she doesn't want to revisit. She doesn't really want to talk to us, so we don't know. I'm trying to move past this situation without hurting anyone." And then comment 2 says, "I agree, the situation is messed up and I would like to know if my partner ever cheated. But the fact of the matter is this will likely destroy an otherwise happy family. Both Lauren and her husband are incredibly successful in their fields and live in an affluent area and can provide the best life for the kid, while Sarah and I are still building our careers and about to begin our own lives. And people have been asking me whether I care about the kid. Yes, of course I do. I saw myself when I saw him, but I don't even know him. I'm okay with not being in his life, and if in the future he somehow finds out and decides to find me, we can deal with it then. But right now I'm fine staying at a distance and seeing him through Facebook pics and starting my life with Sarah. Hope that didn't come off as heartless, but I'm truly thinking about what's best for him. Edit. Just because it's come up a couple times in the comments, here's OP's explanation regarding blood work and all that stuff. I didn't pressure her. I requested it and pulled up my phone and showed her my latest blood work. Medical labs email you your results these days. She said she was clean too, and that's it. Hugely irresponsible and stupid on my part, but I was a different person back then. And now here's the final update. I've had literally dozens of people messaging me asking for an update. Sarah and Lauren have been texting since my last update, mostly Lauren apologizing because she won't be coming to our wedding. She also sent us some wedding and Christmas gifts, which was very sweet of her. Sarah didn't really push her for answers, but left an open invitation to talk whenever Lauren felt comfortable. A few days before Christmas, Lauren FaceTimed Sarah and told her everything. Her and her husband were going through a rough patch in their wedding at the time. He had an emotional affair with a coworker, and they were separated for a few weeks before reconciling. Lauren met me early on during the separation, and we had our one-night stand. She told Sarah I'm the only one she ever hooked up with during the separation. Soon after she realized she was pregnant, she reconciled with her husband. They had been trying with no luck, so just decided to raise the child as their own. Lauren said she's told her husband, and it's caused some turmoil in their marriage, and they're working through it now. He knew about this nameless, faceless man, but seeing me in the flesh and knowing after the fact that I'm the one guy has been a bit traumatic for him, and he's feeling very insecure. So unfortunately, he never wants us to ever contact or be in the same room again. I was listening right out of view from the camera, but I couldn't help but ask Lauren if this means I can ever see the boy. She just said she was sorry. She told Sarah she'll talk to her later, and that was it. They've been texting, and it seems Lauren and her husband will be okay with some time. Now we have to always coordinate that we're not coming to family events at the same time. Sarah and Lauren have already made plans to meet themselves, though. As far as Sarah and I, we're doing okay. We had a pretty bad fight a few days after the last post went up. She wanted to know in excruciating detail everything about the type of guy I was before. Honestly, felt like a CIA interrogation at one point. She cried and told me she wished she fell in love with someone else, which hurt a lot. She apologized the next morning, and we've been doing a lot better now. I think we're stronger now, in fact, now that she knows everything. I'm also never ever doing that ancestry testing services all these companies do. I've also gotten a much better paying job that's fully remote. Sarah will talk with her boss to see how she can convert to full remote as well, which we think is possible. We might be leaving sooner than we thought. That's it. Thanks everyone that provided advice, especially after the first post. That initial post made by the 52-year-old woman, that woman needs to be a psychiatrist/psychologist for young men. I mean, you want to talk about sage advice? Like, I genuinely think that that's the reason why they were able to salvage their relationship. Keeping something like that a secret is literally the worst thing that you can do in that situation. It's going to come up eventually down the road, especially being that they're all family, right? So as the kid gets older, it's just going to pop up. And then at that point, it's totally unsalvageable. So props to that poster for kind of smacking some sense into OP. He did the right thing, and then not pressuring Lauren to talk about it. And turns out that she already had discussed it with her husband and they'd moved past it. So, the moral of the story is like, don't make assumptions, don't jump to conclusions. And as cliche as it sounds, honesty is indeed the best policy. Story 3. I saw my stepmom's Reddit account and found out that she hates me and my siblings. I'm really pissed off and want to vent. I even cried reading the things she said, and I don't know what to do. I don't need any advice, I just want to vent. My father's been married to my stepmother for 5 years. He has been divorced from my mother since my younger brother was 2 years old. There's no beef between them, and they have a great co-parenting. I have a 17-year-old sister, a 16-year-old brother, and I'm 25. Then my father has a 3-year-old son with my stepmother. I found her Reddit account in a pretty random way. Since I'm only home on weekends, I let her use my computer. She forgot to close her email. She doesn't post too much, but she comments too much. I was honestly going to close the email, but it caught my attention that all the replies were from a step-parents subreddit, so curiosity won me over. I know, it's not a good thing to do, and curiosity killed the cat. The first thing I saw was her last post, in which she detailed things about my life in a random Reddit sub, criticizing my decisions and even lying to get people to support her. She has posts on that site talking about how happy she feels when my siblings are not at home. My sister adores her, but she has comments talking about how she can't wait for them to turn 18 and leave the house because she just wants to share the house with her family, my father and her toddler. It seems that she doesn't see us as her family. She has a lot of comments answering other people that it's totally okay to not love your stepchildren because they're not family, and it's okay to not consider them one. She has comments talking about how much it bothers her when my dad and her brother have sleepovers. They just watch a series in the playroom and then go to sleep, as she is tired of hearing the laughter of a teenager and can't wait until we all leave the house so my father can be with his real family. But what she hates the most is having to learn sign language for my little sister. It had always seemed strange to me that SM still struggles with sign language, but now I know that she never really put in the effort to learn. My sister always said that for many people, sign language is very difficult, so I never said anything. But now I know that she always found it stupid to learn how to communicate with my sister when my sister always tried to help her. I was too surprised by the hatred she has when my father spends time with me and my sister. Her jealousy towards us is so obvious that it disgusts me that there are so many people who told her how they feel the same way about their SDs, to the point of sexualizing things. My siblings are not problem children. They even love her very much, and what fills me with anger the most is that she is so false in front of us. Do you know the number of times I offered to babysit my stepbrother so she and my dad can go on a date? All those times she refused to let me take care of him, but now I saw the comments that she left about how I'm living at my father's house and I don't help her at all, only for other people to respond saying that she should give my father an ultimatum to make me leave because I'm too old to live with him and he has a new family. I cook my food, do my laundry, share a room with my sister, I help my father pay the bills while she doesn't, and only come home on the weekends because I'm doing a police academy I'll soar full week. I don't even care if I'm making too obvious who I am. It was my father who told me to move back with him so that when I come back from the academy on Friday nights, it will be a shorter trip. She sexualizes my interactions with my father, saying that it is not normal for me to sleep and nap hugging him and that I should know my place. He is my father. What the hell is wrong with her? I'm so disgusted. Now let's read some relevant comments. Grumble Gal says, "This. Show your father what she really thinks of you all, because once you're all eventually out and she gets her wish, she's going to work double time to keep it that way and isolate him." User 1 says, "You won't get any inheritance. She will make sure of it." OP replies, "I don't think my father has anything to inherit to us. We all lose in that." And then OP on why she is in the police academy. OP says, "I live in a third world country. Half of my colleagues are women in vulnerable situations that the only way out that they found was to get into the police because here you get free healthcare, education, and money. Women who have left their children to work forward is the only way they found. You demonstrate your privilege by criticizing and being judgmental about someone just because of their work without knowing everything behind it all." And then this is OP on if she has had a relationship with her stepmom and if they have talked on a regular basis. OP says, "Honestly, I would have taken the time to sit down with her and chat about how she feels before I knew all of this. She's had years to adjust. But now, I don't give a crap about what feels a person who says I want to F my own father and that learning sign language is a waste of her time when my sister feels bad for not being able to communicate with her too much after years. Nothing justifies being jealous of a daughter with her father. Nothing justifies her comments. It's one thing to say you're stressed and another to make up things on the internet about your stepdaughter." I deleted the post. Hi, I decided to delete the post because for now, I can't tell anyone what happened because I'll basically be locked up in the academy until Friday morning. In fact, I shouldn't even be using my cell phone now. Someone with too much free time shared the situation in that sub of step-parents to warn my SM. I have screenshots of everything, including a video showing that it is her email and showing the comments. If she sees that post, what will she do? Delete the account? I already have the proofs. But I don't want my siblings to find out before I tell them, and I know that those types of posts usually end up in those TikToks that re-upload posts without permission, so I prefer to delete the post so that it doesn't stand out even more. Although my siblings don't use Reddit or that kind of content. I'm going to post again in that sub when I talk about everything with my family. So I hope Redditors will know to keep the secret of the post for now. I know they won't. Haha. Being a stepmom is hard, yes. One thing is feeling that you're having a hard time, and another totally different thing is making a post saying that you hate it when your stepdaughter is around her father because you think she's going to F him. The F? It is not the same to say being a step-parent is stressful than to say, honestly, learning SL is unnecessary because when the girl turns 18, I will not see her again. It is a waste of time since she can read lips. Also, some people complained about me hugging my dad. I also take a nap hugging my mother or my siblings. I'm sorry for having a family that loves me and are not perverts who see a hug as something sexual. Probably next week I'll be able to maybe give an update. The academy keeps me working almost all day. Let's read some more comments here. User 1 says, "Oh, honey, my heart breaks for you. You do, though, sound very mature and responsible. I've helped my sister raise my niece, who's now 23, and is totally alienated from her dad, who left my sister for his now wife when my niece was only 10 months old, and stepfamily because her stepmom is much like yours, but has done far worse things, but then, in a narcissistic way, blamed it on my sister and I. My niece acts very tough and nonchalant about it, but a good few months ago, we were watching Hope Floats, and she just burst into tears, sobbing, 'Why doesn't Dad love me? What did I do wrong?' There is no perfect outcome for this, sadly, but I do feel that she needs to know that you know, and so do your mom and siblings. If possible, do it in a calm, factual way that protects your integrity. From my experience, do not respond and/or mirror or act like her. Always maintain your dignity and equilibrium in spite of what people here might say. Always maintain the upper hand. My sister and I did not, and sadly reacted to a lot of what my niece's stepmom did with rage. She, as any good narcissist would in turn, use this against us. I talked with my siblings and my mom. Hi, for now I'm going to post this little update here since I haven't spoken to my father yet, but I spoke with my siblings and mom. I told my dad that I was staying at a friend's house when I left the academy, but I actually went to my mom's house and told her everything. She doesn't even know what Reddit is. That site isn't used too much here, but I translated the comments and posts for her and showed her the videos, and my mom was furious. I explained to her that in the comments, BM, it's Madre Biológica. I was confused about it too the first time I read that, also with SM. So my SM also made comments and posts complaining about my mother, being that they have always had a cordial treatment. But still, my SM was lying, saying that my mother was troublesome. No one in the comments said anything. Everyone supported her and they recommended that she should move far away with her legal family, far away from the problematic BM and kids. First, we told my brother, who was also upset, and said that she was a fake, but that she has seen her ignore my sister and pretend that she does not see or hear her a lot of times. He explained that, like me, it also seems strange to him that SM has not yet learned sign language. My siblings spend a lot of time at my father's house. Just like English or Spanish, sign language is much easier to learn if you live with someone who uses it every day. Therefore, it is strange that SM doesn't use it. He said that even my father has offered to pay for her classes, but she says she doesn't have time. We asked him if he noticed any other behavior of that kind, and he said that SM doesn't let him take care of our younger brother, which she also does with me, but curiously, she does let our sister take care of him, so I don't understand that. Other than that, she's never treated him badly or anything like that. At the time of telling my sister, she was the most hurt. She cried especially because of SM's comments towards calling me a whore. It's kind of ironic how the comments towards her affected me and the comments towards me affect her, haha. Something that my sister noticed that I didn't is that almost all of SM's comments are criticizing me, my sister, and even my mother, but of my brother, she has only criticized sleepovers or when he comes back late from being with his friends. But she has criticized me and my sister's clothes, made up things about my life, confessed that she hates it when we hug our father, she said we're too clingy, she talked badly about my mother, etc. My sister said it's sexist and maybe she's got some mental problem. My sister said she always believed SM didn't really hear her and she maybe wasn't speaking well and didn't understand her. I think that's the crappiest thing of all. My sister's greatest pride is being able to pronounce some words, no matter how short they are, or if they sound like noise for some people. We understand her, but SM made her feel insecure every time she ignored her. I know that my sister always justified that by believing that it was her mistake and that SM made an effort to learn, but it was simply more difficult for her, but now we know that no, she was never interested in learning. I'm getting mad again as I write this, sorry. My mother said she was going to talk to both of them, mainly because even though it's an anonymous site, SM's way of expressing herself is sick and she's not going to let my siblings be around someone like that. Oh, but she's venting. Being a stepmom is lonely. I received comments like that. It's not the same to say, I feel lonely and I feel stressed, than to say, my stepdaughter behaves like a slut just because me and my minor sister uses a bikini for the pool. Her account is old. She's been leaving comments like that for years. With lies, with complaints we never heard before, it's just messed up. We arranged that we're going to tell our father all together and show him everything, so we're probably going to tell him tomorrow because I need to leave to the academy on Monday. My SM's account is not deleted. It's crazy how she makes things up to get approval from strangers. At this point, I don't even know if she's crazy or a mythomaniac. I would like to go back to her email since the password is saved, but I don't know if she will receive a notification of that because this time I closed the account. Now here's an update that was posted. We talked to my father over the weekend. For now, he is staying at my mother's house. It is a complicated situation since in the middle of everything is my half-sibling too. During the weekend, I went to my father's house and the first thing I did was tell my stepmom separately that I've seen her Reddit account and I'm going to talk about it with my dad. She told me that I can't condemn her for something she uses as an intimate diary, but I told her that this is not a diary. It's a social network where she makes her problems and lies public. If someone other than me discovered her account, then what was going to happen? Were they going to believe all the things she invented? If her identity was revealed on that account by someone else, I would have too many problems and could even be kicked out of the academy. Again, there's a big difference between saying I'm stressed and my stepdaughters behave like sluts around their father. I simply told her that my mother and sister also know it and would come talk about it too. She, for obvious reasons, just went to lock herself in her room, not wanting to talk with me. Once we talked to my father, I showed him most of the posts and comments. There were so many crazy comments that I think it would take me too long to read them all because they were just so long too. She's that kind of people who comments the bio of their lives in the posts of other people. My father got angry. My SM never expressed having a single problem with us like that. The situation would be different if we knew what she thinks about us. My father went to look for my SM, who refused to talk about it and was mostly angry with me for violating her privacy. My father told her that she's insane for thinking that my sister and I sexually provoked him, that he can't believe the way she talks about my sister and the happiness she expresses every time my sister goes to the hospital and is not home. How she expresses to be counting the days until my siblings stop going to the house forever. My father told her that she knew he is a father and that he would never leave us aside. She made her decision, and even so, instead of talking about her problems, she decided to create an account to play at being a victim. She said she needs a place to vent, but he told her that venting is not the same as telling lies. Venting is not the same as hating your stepdaughters and talking horrible things about them, and she could have spoken about it and not just lie. They argued a lot, but it didn't get anywhere because she kept defending herself, and my father only told her that it was over. My mother told my father that she's not going to let my sister and brother be around a woman who is clearly mentally unstable because no normal person thinks like that. After arguing too much and even trying to make SM understand that what she did was wrong, she just justified herself all the time. My father went with us and told her that he is going to come back just to see my brother every day, but that he no longer trusts her and never saw that side of her. She lied for so many years. Nothing really went as I expected. I think I at least hoped that she could apologize, but I think she doesn't even think what she did is wrong. In her mind, everything was totally justified because being a stepmother is difficult, but nothing justifies her being so cruel and poisonous. But yeah, that's what happened. I think it is hurtful to know that someone can hide that much darkness inside. I wasn't too close with her, but I liked her, to the point of sharing my clothes and things with her, so I feel sad about it. Mostly for my dad. I would like to just say that she is insane, but I think that would give room to justify her behavior. She is simply a two-headed viper. Now let's read some relevant comments. User 1 says, is her account still up or did she delete everything? She's absolutely insane and a narcissist if she can't see what she did was wrong. I hope it all works out for you guys. Stay strong. OP replies, the last time I looked it was still there. I have her email password saved on my computer, so if she doesn't delete it, I'll tell my sister to do it for me. Some people told me that they've recognized some of her comments, so yes, or yes, I will delete the account if she doesn't. User 2 says, wow, just wow. You think you know someone and then 1 second, bam, I'm so sorry you and your family are dealing with this. The SM is off her rocker. Does she need constant attention and approval? She needs therapy, and most likely the whole family, because this is a traumatic event, and major trust issues are now forming. Stay well. Stay strong, OP. Stepmother is delusional here and needs to be left in the dust. The fact that even after having the error of her ways pointed out, brought to her attention in full steam, she just continues to deny and defend herself, that's a problem. I don't see how the family can move forward with her included in it. Completely excluding what she actually posted, the fact that she still doesn't get why that's wrong is a major problem. So yeah, definitely need some therapy, but in the meantime, everybody, the dad, OP, sister, just kind of cut bait with this woman. Story 4. Would I be the a-hole, 33F, for not helping my sister, 30F, with a good reference for a job she's more than qualified for? My sister Claudia and I are not close. Very low contact, always family related. Around 14, her, and 17, me, she stole my boyfriend, 16M, by giving up more physically than I was willing to. After that kind of betrayal, I've never trusted her fully and have kept my partners distant from her. I'd like to be clear that it's not just this event alone, but this was the major event that made me pull back from her. This awful behavior has continued throughout Claudia's life. She's stolen the boyfriends of several, that I know of her now ex-friends, and always seems to get bored as soon as the guy leaves his partner for her. Claudia is not a very nice person, but she's superficially charming and makes a good first impression. Twice now at work, Claudia has decided to seduce her married supervisor. This happened with 2 different people at 2 different jobs, and caused an absolute crap show that ended up in the guys resigning. I have no idea what happened to their home situations, but it couldn't have been good. Claudia thrives on drama and absolutely loves it. I've suggested counseling, but it was shot down. I'd have to have a problem to need counseling. Claudia likes the chase more than anything else, and there's nothing wrong with that. She justifies her behavior with anyone that didn't want to cheat wouldn't cheat. You can see why we don't talk much. My friend Brennan, who I met through a previous job, is now in the same industry as Claudia, and Claudia recently found that Brennan's company is hiring. Brennan is sorta HR for the small company Claudia is interested in, and Claudia has applied. Brennan sent an email, I should note, it was from his personal address, not his company account, asking if I could vouch for Claudia, and I'm stuck now. Claudia can absolutely do this job. She will be great at it, except for the fact that she will probably ruin someone's marriage in the process. The fact that she's done this at 2 to 3 places she's worked long-term since college is uncomfortable, and there are 6 times I personally know of that she's done this. Claudia is currently single. I don't know what to do, but I'm leaning to not replying to the email and calling Brennan to give my honest opinion that she would be an excellent technical fit, but a disaster socially. That way, it's not in writing, and Brennan can still be told. But I'm directly sabotaging my sister's prospects if I do that. But again, I'm directly sabotaging Brennan if I don't tell him what Claudia is liable to do. Claudia will pass any screen they give her. She's charming and has no record of any kind. Would I be the a-hole if I told Brennan my sister would be a great technical fit, but would be a social disaster? Now here's some more relevant comments from the OP. My sis delights in ruining relationships. She gets satisfaction from it. When she stole my boyfriend, she was 16, by the way, not 17 plus, so go on with your outrageous scenarios, lol. She told me she just wanted to see if she could do it. She likes the thrill of chasing someone that already has someone and winning over their current partner. She has said all of this to me over the years. I find this fundamentally not okay. The way she seems to see other people and their relationships as expendable is really creepy to me. I personally think she might be a narcissist. There's lots wrong here. Yep, and I've tried. I've done everything to try and get her help, counseling, etc. COP, she shot me down repeatedly, and it's all met with nothing or even mocking derision. I don't know about abuse, but it's always possible. But at the end of the day, she's a 30-year-old woman that attempts to F up people's lives for fun. Trying to help someone being mean to you on a consistent basis is something I'm not willing to do. She's told me that she basically sees people as ants compared to her, as actual words, peons to be conquered. It leaves you feeling icky to know someone thinks of you that way. The wanted to see if she could do it is something she says quite frequently, by the way, usually when doing something socially inappropriate. I don't think she's sex obsessed. I think she sees sex as a way to get power and feelings of being triumphant. She never keeps her trophies, people she's wrested from relationships, longer than a month. It's boring once I've won. I never had anything to do with my ex again after that, to be honest. He was way worse than my sister, but my sister is related to me. I thought I could expect her loyalty, and learned at a young age family is sometimes only in name. And then an update was found in the comments posted later the same day. I called Brennan. It had been nearly a day since his email when I posted. Turns out the reason he reached out to me is because Claudia passed her screening/reference check with the company, but Brennan had final say because he was going to be working with her directly on some policy stuff, and so he had to like who they were hiring. Brennan had been hearing rumors going on around about Claudia as well, and wanted to reach out to me to ask if I'd be honest with him and tell him if they were true, and if working with Claudia was going to be a nightmare for him. This is where my tightrope walk began. I said that I couldn't discuss any rumors relating to my sister with the potential new workplace, as that would be inappropriate. I said that I refused to give a reference on her as I've never worked with her and she is family. I said I hoped he understood. Brennan thanked me and said he wouldn't be hiring her after my refusal. I panicked a bit, realizing I may have just cost her this job. He said it wasn't my refusal personally, but the rumors flying around were too much of a risk when he has a candidate with 90% of Claudia's abilities/experience and none of the potential drama. Brennan said if I'd been willing to vouch for Claudia, or if either of the other two personal contacts he had panned out to reply about her, he might have taken the leap. Everyone declined/refused, and that was a pattern to him. Brennan then freaked out a little that he might have said too much, so both of us were just sort of an anxiety hoedown for a bit, awkwardly comforting the other. The end of the call was super cringy and embarrassing. I imagine it will be a while before we speak again. So it appears my sister's drama has cost her a job offer, but I now feel incredibly guilty because I could have been the one to stand up for her and make her get the job. I didn't. I haven't heard from my sister about it, and I doubt I will. Brennan was not the one to interview her or reject her. He met her on one group call, so I don't think she will even consider him or me as the reason for this. Thanks everyone for your help in dealing with this neatly. I don't think OOP is an a-hole at all. I think the only a-hole in this scenario is Miss Claudia. She is a literal self-proclaimed homewrecker that enjoys the thrill of the hunt, and so knowing what she's like and having displayed a pattern of this behavior from her teenage years on through her adult working professional life, it's not like she's really grown out of that, and so I don't think that there's anything wrong with being forthcoming about what you know about a person. That's the whole point of calling someone for a reference, whether it's family or not. So NTA, even if it's your sister, you shouldn't feel guilty about it. She's ultimately done it to herself with repeated acts of just pure sickness. Story 5. My girlfriend, F28, is pissed I, M34, wouldn't show her my ex's nudes before deleting them and is now questioning our relationship. Well, to cut straight to the point, my current girlfriend is pissed at me because I deleted old nudes from an ex-girlfriend from 14 years ago without letting her see them. While cleaning out my closet, I recently found my old iPod Touch. This thing's from 2010 and I absolutely loved it. Stumbling upon it after all these years is like finding a time capsule, so we excitedly hooked it up to see what 2010 through 2013 me was up to. We were having a good time laughing at the tall tees, mall-bought and extremely fake-ass bling. Oh, God help me, barf. In fitted caps I wore back then. While going through these pictures together, we stumbled across some butt nakeds from an old relationship I forgot were on there. Trying not to make a big deal of it, I said, "Oh crap," and turned the iPod away from her and deleted the pictures, which I thought she would understand. I was wrong. First, she playfully asked to see them, and I told her no. She knows that's effed up. Things quickly went very south from there. She started accusing me of hiding things, saying she just wanted to see what she looked like and that it's no big deal, and eventually started crying. I told her the pictures were from 14 effing years ago, and if I showed my ex's nudes to her, what's to stop her from thinking I wouldn't show her nudes to someone else if they female dogged and moaned enough? Now she accuses me of calling her a female dog, belittling her, and already thinking of the next woman. Things are seriously snowballing, and I've never seen this weirdly jealous and nosy side of her before. We've been together for about 6 months, but have been on again, off again friends with benefits for about 2 years. She knows I do not have patience for silly, childish crap like this, so I kicked her out of my apartment. She calls me an a-hole and says she's going to have to think about our relationship. I told her if she wanted to break up over some nonsense like this, then we shouldn't have gotten together in the first place. I know I was right for not showing her the pictures, and the tears were a manipulation tactic, but I'm absolutely stumped as to why she would try so hard to see them. I figured maybe this sub could provide some insight into this utter madness. Let's jump right into the relevant comments here. So this is more info on their relationship from OOP. I've known her for 2.5 years. We met in school and we've never had any problems whatsoever. She's one of the few people I've ever instantly clicked with. We started hanging out shortly after meeting. Things got physical. She explained that she was only interested in a casual thing and I agreed. It worked out well. I backed off when she started seeing somebody and she did the same when I got involved with someone with no hard feelings. Everything was great. About 6 months ago, we decided to give our relationship a chance. We've never really fought and had a great time around each other, so why not, you know? What I described in this post is the first I've ever seen of this behavior from her, so I don't know if it's a mental health thing or just an aspect of a personality that emerges when she is a committed partner. I've no clue. So I'm trying to figure out if this is a one-off or if something's going on with her I don't know about, and do I cut this person out of my life? And if the relationship ends, that might not even be my choice anymore. So that's where the uncertainty for me lies. User 1 says, "You'd think she'd have more respect for you deleting the nudes and not sharing them." User 2 says, "In deleting them in front of her so she knows they're gone." And OP replies, "We were having a good time too, mostly laughing at me dressing like a clown in shiny costume jewelry, as was the style at the time. This was like a time capsule, ancient and legendary memes. Hide your wife, hide your kids, Rick Rolling, Afro Ninja, the Cyber Police. Convos with friends long gone or grown up with families now. I was really enjoying the nostalgia, and then it all went sideways for no reason. But hey, that's life, huh? LOL. User 3 says, "Nah, she's totally in the wrong. New GF doesn't get to see old GF's nudes. That's a violation of your old GF's privacy, and only because your new GF wants to compare herself. So it's only been 6 short months, and she's showing her hand." User 4 says, "WTF? That's not normal. You did the right thing. Sounds to me your GF has a serious green-eyed monster and most likely wanted to compare the girl to her if that's the type of person she is. But those photos were sent to you with trust. You didn't belittle her. You put boundaries in, and that says more about you than her. In my opinion, you did the right thing." OP replies, "Thanks. I appreciate you saying that. I think I'm going to go ahead and just let this one go. In the 2 years I've known her, I've never seen anything that would indicate she was this, I don't know, insecure. As mentioned, our relationship was casual then, so maybe a switch gets flipped when she has a committed partner. Either way, it's not going to be my problem." And then an update post came later on. After not talking for a couple of days, she finally texted me asking why I haven't called or texted her. I told her the truth. I've been mad at her and trying to decide if I wanted to continue the relationship. How the fact that we were having a good time one minute and then the next was pure madness reminded me of all the crap I went through with my mother as a teen, and how I don't want to deal with that ever again. I had a very emotionally abusive mom that would constantly cause fights over literally nothing. Think DVDs, staple guns, tape measures, etc., and then kick me out of the house to show me whose goddamn house this is. So I have an extremely low tolerance for people starting up and coming at me over petty nonsense. To top it all off, my mom has since passed away, so that's another layer of things. But I've never tried to make my issues anyone else's problem. I've told her about my mother before, so she knew all about this. She told me she didn't mean to make me feel that way, but my flat-out refusal to show her the pictures, combined with my turning away from her when I was deleting the nudes, made her feel like I was hiding things and rejecting her. I immediately called BS because I told her we were going to keep looking through the iPod. I was just deleting my ex's nudes and she damn well knows it. In the 2+ years we've known each other, I've never given her any reason whatsoever to doubt me or think I'm a liar. I eventually got tired of texting, so I tried to call her and she rejected the call, telling me she's not ready to speak yet. I told her I'm done texting, so call me when she's ready to talk, and I quit replying. she starts sending me angrier and angrier messages when I wouldn't reply. F you, this is controlling. What the F is wrong with texting? And go F your redheaded female dog. My ex in the pictures was a redhead and has been out of my life for over a decade. She then sends me a picture of an action figure that's been broken apart. I immediately knew who it was. Prison Mike. It was effing Prison Mike. He was innocent in all this. You see, much like myself and a lot of you, she loves The Office. So, for her birthday this year, I hunted down and 3D printed Prison Mike. 1/12 scale head and a little mug, combined it with a Two-Face figure body, and spent a week painting. I then printed out a backdrop of the conference room as well as pictures of the main cast, except Andy, I hate him, and made a diorama with standees of them in it for the Prison Mike figure. All combined, the thing took about 2 weeks to make, but it was fun. When I gave it to her, she went nuts, hugging me, kissing me, calling me sweet, saying it was one of the most thoughtful things someone's ever given her. Now she's taken a hammer to it. I'm done. I don't know what the hell her problem is, and like Phil Collins, I don't care anymore. Property destruction, whether hers or mine, for any reason, especially revenge, is automatically game over for me. I'm shocked, annoyed, and confused, but still thank you all for your interest and responses. And please, pour one out for Prison Mike. He was truly the belle of the ball. P.S. This is an update to my original post where my now ex-girlfriend and I were cleaning out my closet and found my old iPod Touch from 2010 that I haven't touched since 2013. After powering it up, my then GF and I started going through the pictures and stumbled across old nudes from an ex-girlfriend. Upon seeing what they were, I immediately turned away from her and started deleting the pictures. That pissed off my then ex-girlfriend and kicked off this chain of events. I hope this clarifies for people who didn't see the first post. Let's read some relevant comments. User 1 says, Prison Mike gave his life to save yours. User 2 says, I'm sorry to see how things panned out, but I'm glad you're safely away from this person. If I may ask, given all her unhinged behavior, do you think she would have used you showing the nudes if you had against you later? OP says, oh, hell yeah. That's almost always 100% a trap at worst and a test at best, and they're both massive and unacceptable red flags. User 3 says, I'm proud of you, OP. So many of us continue to walk into the patterns that our abusive parents established, sometimes for decades, sometimes for life, without realizing why we continue to be with a-holes who make us feel like our abusive parent did. You realized and took steps to break it off. Good for you. User 4 says, oh, I was wondering what happened with this. As a woman who was given my then BF nudes, it would have been an appalling thing to do, to show your relationship nudes to anyone for any reason, crazy insecure, GF included. Thank you for holding this boundary. Glad she showed you who she is. Prison Mike took the bullet for you. Carry on, OP. Hope you meet someone wonderful. OP replies, in my first post, quite a few women thanked me for not showing the nudes and deleting them immediately. I'm starting to think I've been pretty naive in this area. I've always known there were a-holes that showed private pictures to others, because people suck, but I guess I never realized just how many out there were like that. I'm not trying to sound like an angel or anything, but showing off people's nude photos is an undignified, treacherous, rat bastard thing to do. So I never did it and consequently never thought about other people doing it. As bad as that sounds, I'm sorry you had to deal with that. It's really not okay, and you definitely don't have to thank me for being a creep, but I appreciate it. User 5 says, property destruction is not a joke, Jim. So I'm assuming that last post is probably a reference to Dwight from The Office, so I tried to give my best Dwight Schrute voice. But anyway, circling back to the story, not a whole lot to say here. He was definitely right to not show the nudes, to delete them immediately. Ex-girlfriend, total overreaction. This was a clear setup and a trap, and I'm glad that, he just decided to cut her off at that point. So good on you. Move right along.